Alright folks, welcome to Premium Fuel Mag. Today we are going to talk about a little mod that I've done to my Mustang that saved me countless hours of frustration and just unnecessary labor over the years. And it's something that's made a lot of people very angry. So normally I don't really pay attention to hateful, angry comments, but honestly, for this particular modification, the video I did it in, I really enjoy reading your angry, ignorant comments. So I'm just gonna go ahead and highlight this modification again, even though I don't really need to. But basically what we've got back here, I've cut myself a fuel pump access door. And what this allows me to do is get access to my fuel pump without dropping the tank down. Now I know some of you macho guys out there think it's super easy to drop the tank. So for this, I'm gonna issue my $1,500 challenge. If you can drop your tank, swap your fuel pump, put it back in and start your car in under 10 minutes, I will PayPal you $1,500. So go ahead guys, show me what you got. As for me, I'm gonna continue using my fuel access door to save myself time. All right, so I know for a lot of you guys, once you change the fuel pump, it's something that you really only do once during the lifetime of the car. But for me, I've changed it out a couple of times because of various engine modifications and stuff that I've done, and just for various troubleshooting. For instance, I had a weird issue a couple weeks ago with the car where the fuel pump just wasn't coming on, and instead of having to drop the tank out to see what was going on, I just pulled this access port off, I put wires to the fuel pump, and I was actually able to get everything going. So that's part of why I'm back here again today, to change out the fuel pump, because there's something's just not right here. I don't know if that's going to fix my issue, but it's only going to take me 10 minutes to figure it out, and I don't have to drop the tank. Some of the crazy things that I've seen people say about this modification is that, oh, now fuel fumes are going to leak into the cabin, I'm going to smell gas all the time. But guys, that's the fuel tank right there. I didn't cut the fuel tank, I cut the back of the car. Some people think it's going to weaken the back of the car. No, that's the frame rail right there. I didn't cut the frame rail. This is just sheet metal. This doesn't do anything for the structure of the car. In fact, every car that's on the road actually has an access port for the fuel pump. For whatever reason, the Mustang doesn't have it, but literally pretty much everything else that you drive is going to have that. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get in here, I'm going to pull my sending unit out, and then we're going to put the new fuel pump on. Alright, so I may have already spotted one issue. As you can see, there's residue around here, and that should absolutely not look like that. Another thing that I've observed is this adapter is completely loose. And with this being like this, I don't even know how this line is even still on there. I don't know how it got like that, but that definitely needs to get fixed because there's probably a fuel leak. This is my send line, and if you have any kind of pressure discrepancies here, your car's not going to run right. So even though that may be my issue, we're still going to go ahead and change out the fuel pump. Yeah, you can see all kind of residue over here. That's definitely not good. I have no idea how that happened, but once again, I'm able to see this within a matter of minutes just by popping this hatch off. Alright, so while we're here doing this, I might as well share with you some educational information. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be replacing the pump with this unit from Aeromotive. This is an upgrade. I didn't need an upgrade, but we're going to upgrade it anyway since we're here. The pumps normally will come with a new connector and a new fuel line to connect your pump to the actual, whatever you want to call this thing here. This is actually the fuel pump hanger. And that is vehicle specific if you're using a stock gas tank. Sometimes pumps don't come with the fuel sock. You absolutely want to keep the fuel sock. Don't just dish this thing and throw this in the trash, because this thing right here actually not only filters your pump, which you can see it's picked up a lot of trash, but this actually helps you maintain a constant fuel pressure, because this basically, when your tank gets low, it helps you to suck up every last drop. It puts a wider area that this pump is actually able to have access to. So make sure you keep your fuel sock on there. So Once you get your pump out, make sure you inspect this hose, especially with if you're running new fuels with ethanol. If you're running E85, you absolutely should not be running a rubber hose at all. That'll destroy that thing and your fuel lines as well. So be very careful. Make sure you have the right stuff if you're running E85. If you're running regular pump gas like I am, just make sure you inspect this thing. Make sure there's no cracks or punctures or anything in this. And as you can see, we've got the replacement here. These things are a little bit of a pain to replace, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and replace it since I'm here. As we can see here, this is some shoddy wiring work from my past. We're definitely going to do a lot better this time because we're not going to use this connector just because it's going to be easier for me to just cut this off. And I can take this connector and use it elsewhere for something else. So we're going to get this thing wired in and put everything back in the car, and hopefully that little leak that we found was my issue in the first place, and we can get that squared away. Alright guys, so the new fuel pump is wired back up, ready to go, and ready to slide this thing back into the fuel tank, which is basically the hardest part of this entire install for me. It's really hard to get this thing back in there, so I'm going to go fiddle with that, just because you have to twist it and do like a little mystery puzzle to get that thing in there. So we're going to slide this thing back in and see what happens. Alright, so we're all buttoned up and cleaned up back here. I blasted it off with some brake cleaner just to get some of that old fuel residue off, and hopefully that fixes my issue. If not, I'll keep working with it, but we got the new fuel pump in. Alright guys, so the car is still not running, and I ended up finding another issue. So when I would turn the ignition on, the fuel pump would prime, but it wouldn't hold any fuel pressure, which basically leads us to the fuel pressure regulator. A couple of friends of mine suggested that might be bad, so I went ahead and swapped that out, and the car had fuel pressure again, so there was also a fault there. So I got that swapped out. The car's still not running, so I'm a little bit mystified at this point as to why the car's still not running, but I may have a couple of answers. I went ahead and took this guy apart just because I was curious to see what was in there. And basically what you have here is, this is your spring, which determines what the pressure is. This little plunger right here is just a preload on the spring to set the pressure. And then what you've got here is your diaphragm. And on the other side of this diaphragm, this little ball here is actually your valve to the return. And there was a flake of metal sitting on that valve, very similar to this one. It wasn't actually this flake. I dropped it on the floor. But the question is, why is there a flake of metal inside of my fuel regulator when I have my fuel sock on? But one thing I immediately noticed when I pulled this pump out, again, like I told you guys, I had a weird issue with my pump a couple of weeks ago where it just wouldn't come on, and finally I got the thing to kick on by putting jumper cables to it. If you look at the pump here, there's this black spot. That's on the inside of the filter. So I think that this pump is actually disintegrating from the inside, and it's probably put metal through my fuel lines, and it's probably broken my injectors. So we're not going to get this thing fixed on this video. I do have extra injectors. We're going to put those on. But I just wanted to show that. So we're going to go ahead and cut this sock open and see what we see in there. Alright guys, so here's inside of the fuel sock, and I know it doesn't look like it, that's actually all metal shavings. That's all like powderized, like ground up metal. And if I grab my magnet here, I can actually pick up some of that dirt and metal shavings with this magnet. So that's not a good sign. I wish I could get into this pump. I'll probably try and get into this pump and see what it looks like inside of there, but I'm betting that that was my issue all along. So I'm pretty much done with this video. Want to go ahead and upload it. Saved myself a lot of time by going in through the trunk. Hopefully you got something out of this video. If not, have fun with rust in your eyes from dropping your tank. We'll catch you on the next one.